That's right, I'm back in Denmark, back in Copenhagen. I'm going to show you a few things to say. Why did I come back? Both what made me like the place in the first place, and what else did I want to see? Because there's always what you saw you liked, what you want to see that you think you'll like, and then there's things you'll be surprised.
Should I go to Denmark? Well, I'll tell you something. If you're an American, you should go to Denmark. It's a great place. And my friend says, well, why? Because they always want to know why. Americans ask a lot of questions. They always say, well, why? Why would it be good for me? And so you go, well, all right. Now, I don't mind asking these questions because I get to relive the other trips that I went to Denmark. And then they say, well, is it an easy place to go? Okay, before we get to, is it an easy place to go to, let's back up and think, why do you go to a place? Because it's got a wow factor, because it's exciting. You don't want to go to a place and just be bored, even though it's convenient. I mean, that's like living in the suburbs. Shh, I didn't mean to say that. But I'll tell you something. Denmark is an exciting and wonderful and beautiful place. And they've got all sorts of things to recommend it. They've got coastline. They've got rural parts. So my friend asked, well, yeah, okay, so it's got nice, pretty countryside and beautiful places to go, but is it as interesting? I mean, is it like England or Germany or Italy? Now, I will grant you that Italy is an exciting culture. It's also a very bloody culture, but it's an exciting culture, and so is France. But Denmark is as good as any one of them. They've got interesting people. They've got interesting history. They have people who have contributed to the body of knowledge and inspired the world. So after I tell my American friend that Denmark is a beautiful, wonderful place to go to, beautiful coastlines, and it's got a rich history, as interesting as France and England, and then I say, well, they've got their own share of unique, quirky people. Well, they say, well, are there any other reasons? All right. For example, Denmark has excellent food. Now, people say, well, is that really a reason to go to a country? It may be a reason to keep you from going to a country if the food is really terrible. You don't want to get dysentery. But is it a reason to go? And I go, it may not be the reason to go, but it's certainly a bonus reason. So let's look at this. That a bonus reason to go to Denmark is that they've got great food. And it is a wonderful collection of foods. The weather, another bonus reason to go to Denmark. Denmark in the summer has probably the perfect weather. There's not that much humidity. It's usually in around the 70s. And you can walk around in shorts. And guys, it gets nicely cool at night. When it is night, there is more sunlight than you can imagine if you come from America. It doesn't really get totally dark till about 11 o'clock, and then it gets early in the morning. It's sunny, and very rarely, a heat wave in Denmark is about 82 degrees. And I've heard Danes complain when it's been 82 degrees. When I come back from Denmark to New York City and it is so hot and humid, I go, ugh. It's easy to get around Denmark. And that's another bonus reason for a number of, and those are all kind of sub-bonus reasons. First of all, it's very compact with a lot of culture packed into a very small space. So you can go, even if you only go to Copenhagen for a week, you can take day trips that do not take that long to Louisiana Museum, to the Castle of Hamlet. It's not like coming to America where you go, oh, you're in New York? Are you going to go see the Grand Canyon? No, because the Grand Canyon is already all the way across the country, and it would take a day just to travel that way, and then you'd get to see it. It'd be exhausting. Also, Denmark is extremely easy to get around because they have a very good transportational system. They've got trains that'll take you around the country, and they have buses that will take you around the city. And you think, oh, well, that's not a big deal. No, it's a big deal. Like, you can get to Louisiana Museum. You can get to Hamlet's Castle on train. You can go to other parts of Denmark by train. You can get to Aarhus, where my girlfriend's mother lives, by train. And it takes some time, but not that much time. And then you're in a whole new city. You can stop at Odense in Funen, where Hans Christian Andersen was born, and they have a Hans Christian Andersen museum. So there's all these things, and you will not spend half your vacation traveling. I will tell you, I live in New York City, and occasionally I think, oh, I'd like to go down to the New Jersey seashore. Well, I'll tell you something, it's a pain in the butt to get there and to come back. When there's no traffic, it's only about a 2-hour drive. But on a Sunday, when you want to get there, it can take upwards to 5 hours, and you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic trying to get through the Lincoln Tunnel. And when you do that, even if you've had a pleasant day at the beach, guess what? You're miserable. When we're in Aarhus and wanted to go to the Viking Museum in Musgard, but they actually have a bus that goes from the center of Aarhus right to the museum. Every half hour there is about, and then you can come back. So it's really quite easy. So we didn't really have to worry about transportation. We got to enjoy the museum. Here's another benefit of the train and bus and transportation in Denmark. Not only is it a great system, and it works well, and it's on time, but because people in Denmark generally speak English, and they speak English very well, as an American, if you ever get confused or you can't figure out where to go, you can ask someone in English. You do not have to do some sort of pidgin French. Or when I was in Mexico, very few people spoke English very well, and if you had to find them, and the way I got around it, I carried a pack of cigarettes around and bribed people to give me help on where I was to go. But you don't have to do that in Denmark because they speak English very, very well. And that makes an American feel very, very welcome. That's a bonus reason, several bonus reasons. In fact, it may actually be a bona fide reason to go because you will go there and you will really enjoy the country without the stress of having to feel like you may get lost and not know where you are. And because they speak English, you can go on the train and you can figure that out. When you go to a hotel, you can figure out where you can go to eat. When you go to a bar, they will probably be able to speak English. I was in a 7-Eleven, and I couldn't figure out what the sandwiches were. Why? Because they were in Danish. And I just go, what are these? This nice young man in his early 20s spoke perfect English. He actually wore I think a Cal Berkeley sweatshirt, which I don't think he actually went to Cal Berkeley. He thought it was kind of cool. And he told me. And not only did he tell me what they were, he actually gave me a recommendation. Now, those are kind people. And they are very kind people. And here's one more bonus reason about the English, is that when you go to a museum, because Denmark is a very international country with a lot of international tourists from all over, and here you are, lucky Americans, because they know that people are going to come to Denmark, and because they know most people know some English, they will have all the little placards in a museum, both in Danish and in English, so you can read exactly what you're looking at. I went to the Louvre in Paris, and I couldn't read a darn thing on those things. Did they put any English things? No, because I think the French people actually think that you should make the effort to learn French. If you're an American, I think you should really consider going. It's a fantastic place. It's a fantastic and beautiful country. It's got beautiful places to go see. It's an extremely interesting history with some very interesting characters. And they've got great food, great weather. You can get around really easily. And to help that, they speak very good English, so you will never feel lost and helpless. I never felt lost and helpless. And I knew that even if my girlfriend was going to see one of her friends, I could get around, and I felt very comfortable the times that I was on my own. So, here's one thing. I am trying to learn Danish, so I don't have to always ask in English. And though I do hear that when a Danish person sees you try to speak Danish, they just go, oh, forget it, let's not talk English. So, if you're considering traveling to Europe and you need a place to go, I recommend going to Denmark. Thank you kindly.